time.
We're going to surprise everyone. Surprise! We're on time. We're live.
We're on time, everyone. How many people are only just sitting there and thinking, oh, I've got another 10 minutes yet?
Yeah, exactly.
No, we've got...
Oh, Dave has got an 18-year-old Glen Garioch in his glass tonight. Superb. Living the dream.
Do you know,
is that the 18-year-old that's all gone?
That's sold out that I don't even have, which is annoying. Because, yeah, it sold out really, really quickly. I hope everyone's sitting down tonight because we're playing the Glen Garioch game. I think it's going to be mentioned a few times. You got an 18-year-old right there.
No, this is a 17.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, it's not fair if you've got one.
This is my favourite of the range. I have to say, this is the one. It's a good one. So, is it the Renaissance you've got, Dave? Because I know one place that still has a couple of bottles. If you can't get now at the distillery.
I don't get a discount at your shop, so I'm not buying it from you.
It's still staff. Still count.
Oh, no, I do get a discount. Yeah.
So this is my glass. The 17-year-old Renaissance. What's in your glass?
That's a nice glass. Wow.
Yeah. It's quite funky.
It's lovely. I was wishing that we've got the manager's choice bottle at the distillery that's got Kwanele's name on it, and I wish I had that at home. I've maybe got a sample of it sitting somewhere, but I don't actually have a bottle of it yet. So I thought Glen Garioch might be mentioned quite a lot, so I thought maybe I should have from the other distillery that Kwanele now works at. So I've got 2 Glen Morays, and I don't know which one we're going to go for. So I've got the one that I couldn't get into last.
Go for the one that's already open. That would be easier for everyone.
We've got, the one in the wooden box I couldn't get into. And then I've got this one that I picked up at Port Leith the other day. So it is a second fill bourbon, 8-year-old Glen Moray. So I'm quite excited about opening that one. Nice. It looks easier to open. It's just a cork. So this might be safer to get into live on air.
I will be tucking into this one as well. This is a Chenin Blanc distillery cask.
That's cool.
60.3. So I'll crack that open a little bit later on, but start with the familiar Glen Garioch tonight. So let us know what you've got in your glass, guys. So Dave's got a boutique whiskey 18-year-old in his glass.
Yes, and he gave me a sample of that. Hang on 2 seconds.
Good evening, Big Pour. He joining on YouTube. Everyone's on YouTube today. Who's watching on Facebook? Let us know if you're watching on our other channel, Facebook.
So, Dave, I haven't opened it yet because I was kind of just waiting for the right occasion, and I kind of feel like this might be the right occasion. So I've got the same dram as Dave. How cool is that? I'm going to crack this one open.
And without further ado, let's bring our guest on, because you're not here to listen to us. So I say every week you're here to meet our guest and chat about all things whiskey. So let's say good evening to Dr. Kwanele. Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks, Mike. How are you? How are you, Kat?
Good. It's Dr. K in the house. Right.
You've done away with the Kanye today.
I did a bit of research. I was looking up your name to find out if I could find out the meaning of what Kwanele meant. And I think I found it means origin or original.
Where were you looking? Where did you look?
It was Google, or another word I found was enough.
Yeah.
It means enough.
A transliteration of I'm going to pronounce it the way that it's meant to be pronounced. A transliteration of Kwanele is enough, as in most names from the part of the world that I come from generally tend to have a meaning. So, and they tend to be given to the children, depending maybe on some instances on the circumstances that happen to be surrounding the family at that moment in time. So enough could be enough suffering, enough talking, enough, as in it's sort of like the period that the Americans use It's like
Perfect.
underlining. Yeah, it's almost like you're underlining something and saying this is the end of it, type thing. Yeah. So that's what it means. Direct transliteration is enough.
Wow,
Oh.
interesting. It's quite cool. I was the reason I brought it up was because it also you could click on find out nicknames for
Yeah.
the name. So I clicked on it, and there was some cracking nicknames for Kwanele. Kwanelicious was my favorite one.
No, I've never heard that one before.
So yeah, that was what it stood out for me.
Yeah.
And K Dog was in it as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I've heard that one before. I've heard K Dog mentioned somewhere up here in Speyside.
You'll always be Dr. K. I did threaten you for about, I think I've been threatening you for about a year now that I would track you down and make you come on the Blether.
Yes, you did. No, but I think your first email that you probably sent sometime last year, probably around about this time last year, probably found its way into my spam box and lurked there for a few months before it eventually disappeared.
How
Because
did it?
because the email that you sent at the beginning of this year to set this up also found its way lurking in my spam box. So unfortunately, I managed to catch it in time before it disappeared off into the ether.
That's good.
Yeah.
I think you've got a filter on your email. You seem to be pretty savvy with your email.
IT.
Cat, yep, junk.
Spam.
I mean, I literally turned up at his distillery and was like, check your emails. So, there was no way I wasn't going to make this happen.
Yes, you're very determined.
Tenacious.
Yeah, I think that's the word, tenacious. Yeah, very tenacious. Yeah, absolutely.
You have to be.
No, it's
You have to
awesome.
be, don't you?
Yeah, it's awesome to have you on. I think you're the first doctor maybe we've had on. You're like or have you had a doctor on before, Mike?
Yeah, we had Dr. Barry. Rachel Barry's been on.
Oh, Dr. Rachel Barry, of course. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Well, yeah. So you are a doctor of biochemistry and
that's correct.
philosophy, if I remember, because I used to introduce you from Mike's Whiskey Academy twice a year. We used to wheel you out of the office.
And we'll be back at the end. Yeah.
So, for anyone who doesn't know, Kwanele and I used to work together at Glen Garioch, and whenever there was a VIP event, I would host it with Kwanele. So I used to forcibly kind of remove him from the office, drag him through. Got a little visitor.
So we've got this is Killian, this Kwanele. Look.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Killian could be K-Dog as well.
It could be a K-Dog. But his name means fiery-haired little warrior, is what Killian means in Irish.
Oh, we've lost Kwanele.
That Killian pressed the button. Sorry, and you
I think I like him. He got the right idea.
That's what he thinks of the marriage chat.
We spent so long trying to get you on until it was just in one fell swoop. Nope.
Oh no!
Absolutely brutal.
That was brutal.
Hi, Kwanele.
Hello. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Awesome.
I'll stick my head in and say hi.
Hello.
There you are. It's a family affair tonight.
Yeah, this is really not a room big enough for 3 people plus whiskey, so, but we're all squeezed in to see you.
Yeah.
Good night, little man.
Night, Killian.
He's giving me a deadpan look. He's like,
yeah,
no, said it was bedtime. So Tony obviously worked with you as well at Glen Garioch.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, she did. Yeah, did all those many moons
it's
ago.
like a little reunion.
Yeah,
because you started in 2012, was it? 2019. Sorry, that you started at Glen Garioch, was it?
I started at Glen Garioch on the 27th of May, 2019.
Awesome. We stole you from.
I came from Diageo. I used to work at the time when I left Diageo. I was working at the Rosile, within the Rosile group, and that Rosile group is basically made up of Rosile maltings, Rosile Distillery, and Baghead maltings. So that's where I was working in 2019, just before I moved over to Beam Suntory.
Nice. And how long were you with Diageo?
For my sins at Diageo, I was there from July 2011 up until May 2019. So just shy of 8 years. Just shy of 8 years. Yeah.
And now, of course, at Glen Moray.
Yeah. Now I'm at Glen Moray. So this is my third whiskey company that I'm working for. As I was saying earlier on, it's my plan is just to go to all these places, spread a little confusion here and there, and then leave before they find out. Spread a little chaos and so a little seeds of discontent here, there, and everywhere, and then depart before they actually find out the things that I've done. Yeah.
You're like a little poltergeist, just going in and causing mayhem and then running away.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You can't run too far, because I know you're enjoying the shorter commute to work now that you are Speyside based.
Yeah.
So you can't go too far.
My commute to Glen Garioch was an hour each way, an hour, so 2 hours a day. It gave me a chance to listen to podcasts and music as well. But now my commute is reduced to just 2 songs. I jump into the car, drive 2 songs later, I arrive at the distillery. So I don't get enough time to listen to podcasts or music anymore. So yeah, the life is much simpler from a commuting perspective in that sense.
Yeah. It's quite similar setup in a way that both distilleries are kind of in the middle of the town, is kind of now built round about it, hasn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. Although for Glen Moray, it's not quite to the same extent that Glen Garioch is.
No.
Glen Garioch is right in the middle of the town. It's surrounded by houses on virtually all 4 sides. We're lucky enough at Glen Moray to have, I think it's the one side where you have most of an estate. And the other side is the boundary is the River Lossie and some fields, basically. Yeah, but yeah, it's quite striking that both distilleries have got a public right of way.
Yeah,
I mean, one of the main roads of Old Meldrum run through Glen Garioch. So we used to see a lot of the neighbors passing through the site, which was a bit stressful during times of the expansion, when you had crane lifts.
Sure.
Yeah, when tanks were being lifted over the malt barns and all that kind of stuff, and you had people walking around in flip flops and stuff like that. So yeah.
And kids go to school, because that's quite a common sight, isn't it? All the kids go to school through the distillery.
They're passing through. Yeah.
It's quite funny. I think we might. I don't know. I think we're the only one that's got a road right through the middle of it. I know there's lots of roadside distilleries, like in Campbellton and stuff, but are we the only one that's got a public road that goes right through the middle? Maybe the guys in the chat will be able to tell me if there's other ones.
Macduff does.
They got a road through.
Yeah, but, I mean, they don't do visitor tours, so that's an extra stress for you guys doing the tour with crossing the public road.
I know.
Glen as well. It's got a road right through it. I had the similar experience where, again, you're trying to lift boilers and you had people jogging through the site, right underneath the path of a crane lifting a 20-ton boiler or whatever it is. Yeah.
It's funny though, because like you're going around high vis and safety boots, trying to be very, very careful, and then you just got some old lady walking past with her dog.
Yeah.
And her pair of slippers on. You're like,
the good one is that I think some of the sites are no smoking site zones. You're not supposed to smoke anywhere on site other than at a designated smoking shelter. But with your Glen Garioch and some of the sites that have got a public right of way, you're busy enforcing all these rules, but someone can wander through just quite happily, chain smoking away, and there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah.
No. And the other problem is that because you're on the public road, people just walk into the buildings. Like, there's nothing that can really stop them. Like, they don't need to come past the visitor centre to go into the buildings. They could just wander in off the street. So
absolutely, absolutely, yeah. Okay.
Dave Thacker said is on YouTube. He is saying Glengoyne
Have they got a public road?
It kind of, yeah, the main road goes, so the distillery is on one side of the road, and then the car park and the warehousing is on the south side of the road. So
is that because you were saying that
itself?
Is it like because were you saying this the other day that they can, like, because the warehousing's on the other side of the road, like it's technically being matured, like in the lowlands or something, but the
the distilleries in the highlands.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a coffee table book based. It's just a coffee table book of photographs of distilleries that have public roads through the middle of them. It's going to be a small book, like 3 chapters. This is my new goal in life.
We've got a great question from Dave coming in as well. What is your biggest achievement within all the whiskey industries?
That's a good question, but a difficult question. I think if I was to try and answer that, I would maybe categorize what I would consider to be my successes into maybe 2 broad spectrums or 2 broad areas. One that would involve people. One of the things that I quite like that I've seen in my time in whiskey is encouraging people to be sort of like, to use a cliche, the best versions of themselves. And I've had the privilege, I would say, of seeing people develop and basically do become the best versions of themselves. I won't embarrass them by naming them, but I've had the opportunity to work with people that have sort of like maybe started off with no experience at all in the industry, and when you're recruiting and looking for operators, you get I don't know whether you can call it a 5th sense or a 6th sense, where you think that this guy is worth gambling on, and when you do take that gamble, you see that person coming on, learning the trade, and actually flourishing as a distillery operator. Those are the things that are sort of the things that stand out from a people perspective. Nowadays, in the whiskey industry, it's very much similar to what happens in most manufacturing industries, where you're trying to promote or advance this idea of operational excellence and being as efficient as you possibly can be, and the things that come along with that. So when you get someone literally fresh off the street, and you get them into the distillery, and they get trained up to become a craftsman, as it were, and then they progress to take on board all this stuff that seems alien to them at face value, and they take that on board, and you see them actually develop and flourish. Those are the sort of things that I would call out as successes. And then on the other side, which is perhaps more of my natural homeland, is the technical aspects of making process improvements. So when you get to any distillery or any site, there's always, I believe, opportunity for you to improve an aspect of how that distillery performs from an efficiency perspective. So there are things that I think I've done throughout the time that I've spent in the whiskey industry, where I've had the opportunity to work with teams to identify areas of improvement, and then actually delivering those improvements to the benefit of the business. Yeah, I think those are the sort of like 2 broad areas that I would call successes.
That's a really nice answer, because a lot of people would just kind of maybe choose like a sort of a showy kind of highlight of like, oh, I was there when this bottle of whiskey was released or whatever. But the fact that you're proud of, developing other people, I think is a lovely answer. And you are definitely a natural teacher. If you ever want to move into a different career.
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting you should say that. I did try teaching way back many moons ago in England. I trained as a teacher at Keele University. At that time, the government was offering what they called a golden hello to for teachers in shortage subjects like science, mathematics, and computer science. So when I saw that, I thought, I fancy a bit of this golden hello. So I took myself off to get trained. I did the PGCE at Keele. But what they didn't tell you was that you had to do your PGCE training, and then you had to do a year's probation of teaching. And it was at the end of that of that teaching year that they actually gave you this golden hello. I only found that out when I started the teacher training. So I took myself off to Kiel, trained, and managed to get a job in what they would regard a typical inner city school in Birmingham. With, I think it was a school with 1,600 kids in a very economically challenged area. And as fate would have it, I turned out to be a very terrible teacher. I turned out not to be the teacher that I thought I would be, and rather than stick with it and try and battle my way through the fact that yes, you have these kids whose I suppose whose future relatively rests upon your shoulders, and if you're as terrible a teacher as I was, it didn't seem like a good idea to stick around and blight their futures. So I subsequently fled to Scotland, and that was in some around 2008. That's when I left the world of teaching. So I'm not quite sure whether teaching as a career would be something that works for me. Maybe one-to-one teaching sessions would work, but not stood in front of 16-year-olds and 14-year-olds trying to teach them science and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, you were always very patient with me, because I'd always just kind of come creeping into your office and be like, Kwanele, I've got a question.
No, I think I suppose maybe all that teacher training wasn't wasted. Yeah, it wasn't a waste. There must be something that's rubbed off that allowed me to be able to maybe be in a position in some instances to be able to explain relatively theoretical concepts and try and bring them to life in a way that most people would understand.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good way of describing it. Do you set the questions for some of the? It's not the diploma, but do you set some of the questions for some of the, like, what is it, the exam?
It was the General Certificate of Distilling. No, I used to be the IBD ran a Set for Success program where the candidates for the GCD get tutored through exam type questions. So I used to participate in that as one of the tutors. My employers at the time, Team Santori, were gracious enough to allow me the time to participate in that. So I used to do that. So there were times when I had to get into this at in the very early hours of the morning to participate in those sessions, because I used to start pretty sharpish. Yeah. But no, I never actually set any questions for the GCD.
That's cool.
Okay. Yeah.
That's cool. We've got Major Nut, who's watching on YouTube, says, good evening. Today is Sweden's National Day, or Independence Day.
Oh.
So, I was going to say congratulations. I'm not sure if you say congratulations on Independence Day.
National Day.
Yeah, happy International Sweden Day.
Yes.
Major Nut. He's having finishing off a Swede bottle from a distillery called Agitator, made with Swedish black wheat, which sounds pretty cool. That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we have to ask. We haven't asked Kwanele what's in his glass yet. He might have Swedish black wheat whiskey in his glass.
No, I've got something much more mundane. I don't know whether you can see it through my filtered.
Don't spoil the illusion. We all thought that was your real house. Oh, look what you've got! I love it.
Yeah,
that's obviously your favorite whiskey, right?
Yeah, Glen Garioch's Founders Reserve. That's what I've got in my glass, and it happens to be one of my favorites drams.
Excellent.
Awesome. I wish that's fantastic. So we're all on Glen Garioch tonight to begin with. That's really cool.
We are.
I know. I was wishing I had your bottle tonight, Kwanele. We've still got some of that in the visitor centre with your name.
Oh, it's not
etched.
selling.
We're going to try and peel the labels off. I think it's your name that's causing the problems.
I thought as much when I was signing them.
It took a lot of bribery to get you to sign those labels. You'd be like, well, I've done 5. Like, you don't even have a good name.
Yeah. No, eventually I basically knuckled down, and I think I did something like 200 in a day or something like that.
There was a lot of labels.
Yeah.
To be fair, it was a virgin oak barrique, so there's plenty of whiskey came out of it. But
Absolutely, yeah.
no, it does very, very well for us. But no, I don't
Does
have a
it
bottle of
really?
it at home.
I thought it'd be finished by now. I thought it'd have sold like hotcakes.
I know, this is it. I mean, now this goes viral. People will be desperate to go and get a bottle of it. We'll have to put a limit on it.
Yeah, you have to put up the price. Yeah.
It's a cracking dram. I don't think I've got a bottle of it. Do I have a bottle? I think I'm not sure. When was it launched?
So when Kwanele left. So when was that, Kwanele? Like,
must have been. It's round about this time last year, I would think.
Well,
About, June 2023.
Yeah. So it's been on the go since then. No, I think you bought the red wine, Mike, but I don't think you've got. Yeah, I don't think you've got Kwanele's one. We just call it Kwanele's dram. Like, we don't even give it its proper name. It's just go and get a bottle of Kwanele.
I think my agent will be speaking to you all these rights that you owe me, image rights and all the rest of it, whatever they're called.
Yeah. Can't get enough of Kwanele's dram.
Yeah. That's it.
Dave's asking how much is it for the bottle.
I just saw that comment and I was trying to remember before anybody actually asked.
Sorry. We'll circle around it.
It's 100. I'm going to say 150, and somebody's going to tell me that's wrong. But I struggle remembering numbers. I think I've got number dyslexia. I can remember facts and historical stuff and like whole scripts, and just numbers don't stay in my head. I think it's 150. We're going to go for that. And if it's more than that, Kwanele will pay the difference.
You have to find me first.
I'll look out for you in your ski lodge in Aspen. I'll know where to track you down.
Yeah.
I'm a rubbish skier though, so it's going to be a really slow race.
I'm sure it will be.
You've got time, Kwanele. You've got time to.
Mm-hmm.
Fraser is watching on Facebook. He's saying good evening. He's settling in with the Adelphi Adventures 11-year-old Glen Garioch, which, if I remember, is a full bourbon cask. So that'd be right up your street, Kat.
That is definitely right up my street. Glen Garioch and bourbon is my favourite. Although it's good in Oloroso too, but I love it in a refill bourbon. 1991 refill bourbon was the best. The best bill. No, I'm not opening that. But yeah, no, that was a very, very good one.
So the founders, Kwanele, that was your pick, because we often have the debate in the shop about who prefers what, and I'm more of a 12. I like the slightly more sherry influence of the 12. Okay. But Janice, I know, is a big fan of the founders, so there are people from both sides.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that's the thing with whiskey. Once it's suppose matured, it finds all takers, as it were. I think it's very hard to find something that's universally disliked or universally liked. People will always veer here and there and everywhere according to their preferences, I think. Yeah.
Definitely. I think Glen Moray is always a firm favourite for a lot of folk as well, because it's such an affordable dram. It's just...
Yeah. I think the buzzword within the industry over the last few years has been premiumization, I think, where you make 10 bottles and charge £10,000 for them for each bottle. Glen Moray is at the other end of the market, where it's an affordable dram for, I suppose, your non-whiskey connoisseurs and all that kind of stuff. So it's at the other end of the spectrum. So
and that classic range is so it's such an easy sell because it just sits in that £25 around 25. And it's so easy. We have a lot of people coming buying gifts and they're maybe not sure of what to buy, especially maybe Father's Day coming up, and it's like we want to give a present. But they don't know maybe enough about whiskey, maybe a little bit. Anyway, Dad drinks whiskey, so I'll buy him a bottle of whiskey. And then they come into the shop and they see the prices, they're like, oh wow, this is quite a lot. Well, we've got something like the Glen Moray is a perfect one to say, well, this is £25. It's not a huge, and it's good liquid as well. I've said it for a long time, and I said this when Graham Cool was distillery manager. He came out and did a tasting, and I was saying to him, then you could add another tenner onto that bottle, and people would probably still be happy to pay for it.
Yeah. Well, funnily enough, I was in a meeting with Ian Allen, the visitor center manager, and he mentioned that Glen Moray is actually the second biggest selling single malt in the UK.
Really?
Yeah, that's what he told us, and we believed him. I believed him. Said, and when you think about it, I think if you go into all the sort of like your supermarkets, your Tesco's, and you always find a bottle of Glen Moray. The 12-year-old, it's always there, and it's at a price that's affordable for the consumer. So I suppose it's initially when you're taken back by second biggest selling single malt in the UK, but then when he explained it and he put it in those terms, it kind of sort of like made sense.
That does surprise me, but it shouldn't, I think, because as you said, when you look at it, I would have hazarded a guess. I would have probably said Glenfiddich, Glenlivet, and maybe Glenmorangie would have been.
I think those big brands are probably internationally at the forefront of your single malt, but looking, I suppose, maybe internally within the UK market, maybe those brands are not as popular as some of them. I don't remember asking him which one is the number one single malt in the UK, but I would imagine that it's probably one of those, your Glenfiddichs and your Glenlivets or some other brand. Yeah, possibly. But I was equally surprised as well. Yeah.
There's a lot of like fun finishes though, because you've had a history of just playing around with. I think you guys were the first Cabernet Sauvignon finish out of any of the whiskies. I think I read it on your website actually earlier. I do my research, Kwanele. You know this.
You've done more research than I have.
And you find when I started talking about
it. That's probably true. I think what I found fascinating working within the whiskey industry, I think a lot of my attention from a personal perspective has been maybe focused on the front end of the process. So the actual making of the new make spirits, which then goes and matures for however many years is deemed appropriate. It's only maybe relatively recently that I've begun to take an interest in the finished product and the various tunes that you can play by getting to mature your cask or finish your cask in different cask of different origin, if I may use those terms. It's quite fascinating how what starts off as sort of like a new make spirit can end up with so many different flavors and varieties that have all been imparted during the maturation process.
Yeah. Because when you're talking, you're kind of at the creation of the spirit stage. You're looking at your yeast and your fermentation and that kind of side of things. How does that differ going from Glen Garioch, knowing the flavor profile is kind of really geared towards kind of mainly bourbon and sherry, to something like Glen Moray that's they're really keen on trying lots of different experiments?
I think what underpins both approaches for the different organizations, as it were, is the need or the desire to make a quality new make spirit. So even though the companies might have different approaches in terms of what they want the end product to look like, you couldn't get away by making a rubbish new make spirit on either site, as it were. So those aspects of making a quality spirit underpin everything that you're trying to do. There's probably different approaches in terms of how strictly you adhere to your what you consider to be your quality parameters in making your new make spirit. There's possibly more latitude that we have at Glen Moray compared to previous experience at Glen Garioch, but what underpins all the things that you do is that you don't want to compromise the quality of the new make spirit that you're making.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
I guess you could. Yeah, I mean, you can't really hide behind some. I mean,
No.
I think with finishes and stuff, it's harder to hide behind that. You know, if you did like a really big, heavy sort of maturation, you can maybe hide a poor spirit behind it. But playing around with some wine finishes, it'd be harder to hide a poor spirit behind that.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And the thing is as well, some of the products that are being made at Glen Moray are put into or finished off into casks that are relatively hard to come by. So you wouldn't want to waste those casks by putting in rubbish spirit in them. So you want to make sure that whatever it is that's going in is good quality spirit to basically give you that consistency of product and that quality that you're looking for at the end of the day. As Kat says, there's only so much that your cask can do. If you put in rubbish spirit, inevitably the rubbish, as they say in computer science, garbage in, garbage out type thing. Yeah, I would say. Yeah.
I think that ties in with a question from, was it Rick that asked a question about, where's Rick? He's there. He's on Facebook today. Yeah, if you had to choose, what is Kwanele's favourite finishing cask? Do you have a favourite finishing cask?
I think some of the Glen Gariochs that I've tasted, the ones that have been finished in a sherry cask. I think there was that. You probably correct me. No, the cask that we gave to Prince Charles.
So
that was in 1978.
He had the 1978, but that was a bourbon cask, I think, wasn't it?
Are you sure, Kat?
I'm just going to step back here. I'm going to let you guys.
I think it is because we put the 1979 sherry first of all, also. So once the 78 was finished, the 79 came in. But I'm pretty sure it was
bourbon.
Yeah. We had the 84, we had 85, and we had 84, and then we had the 78 bourbon. This is going to get really boring, guys. Sorry.
Let me argue back and forth. But anyway, to cut a long story short, I'll say that my favorite cask finish is a sherry cask.
Yeah.
We had that debate
the one that we launched on. Do you remember we opened up on? Or maybe you weren't there yet. I think you probably were. We opened up on New Year's Day for the first footing. Maybe that was before you, and we launched the 2009 sherry because that was always my favorite. But yeah, I mean the 15-year sherry. People love it.
Kwanele would have been there because that's 2020 because it was the first cask open. I think it was the first cask open in Scotland that decade, wasn't it?
Yeah,
so it would have been January 2020. So if Kwanele joined, then you would have.
Yeah, I think I was on holiday that week.
You had your out of hours on anyway.
You did. Yeah, I know because I don't remember you being there because I had Ron over, and I think Ron was
You needed someone.
You needed someone that knew something about their whiskey, and Ron was your man.
I know if we can't wheel you out, we'll wheel Ron out. We can't do that anymore either because he's retired. So yeah. Can't.
I think there's a new Ron.
There is a new Ron, yes, Dr. Callum.
Yeah.
We'll have to get him on next. We'll just have doctors only on here.
So Yeah, I was going to go back to the sherry one, and I'm like you, Kwanele. I love a sherry cask. But I find myself, the more I learn about whiskey, the more I learn about the making of it and the process it goes through, the more I'm kind of veering towards bourbon, because I think bourbon, especially refill bourbon, it allows you to find flavors that are made from the distillation rather than flavors that come from the cask. I think it's a bit easier to find. Okay, that's those apples and whatever is coming from the fermentation, or that kind of side of things, rather than that's sherry, that's chocolate and figs and Christmas cake.
Yeah, that's true.
That's it. Yeah. So the geeking me is really pushing towards bourbon cask, but my taste buds will always take me back to sherry, I guess.
To sherry. Yeah, that's an interesting way of looking at it. That if you're after, as you're saying, if you're after the flavors that come from the original new make spirit that went into the cask, then but if I suppose if you're after something else, something different, then you've always got a choice of going out for other cask finishes.
Absolutely. And Glen Moray was one of the top guys.
I was going to ask how many Glen Morays have got almonds coming through on the nose, because that's pretty much the only tasting note you ever gave us. For everything. You're like, what are you getting there, Kwanele? Almonds.
Almonds.
Like, again, really,
Nora? No, sadly enough, I haven't found any. I haven't picked up any almonds in the Glen Morays that have been made in my time there, or before or after. No, I think that to me that was what was unique about the new make spirit at Glen Garioch after the upgrades, or after all the changes that had been made to the process at Glen Garioch. If memory serves me right, Ron Master Blender did pick up almonds as well.
You're not wrong. I did a new make masterclass with somebody. I think he was a whiskey writer. And he's like, "Oh, do you know what this really reminds me of?" He's like, Bakewell tarts. I was like, almonds. Yeah, I mean, Bakewell tart is just a nice way of saying almonds.
There you go.
It's a writer's way, isn't it? A creative way of saying almonds.
There you go. I think that maybe that probably comes from all the changes that were made to the process at Glen Garioch, the direct firing, the flow malt. I think even though that new make spirit that we were using for Mike's Whiskey Academy was pre the introduction of the flow malt, so it was primarily, I think, coming from your direct firing and the good things that it brings.
Was it as early as 2014 was the first one?
Yeah, we started with 14.
But I remember there being a lot of mushrooms as well on the nose. There was quite a few mushroomy.
And I think that was in the earlier samples, the 2014. I think at that time they were still using dried yeast instead of yeast cake, and the process. Let's see if my memory serves me well. They had a bigger mash size as well. They were running relatively short fermentations, I think, as well. You should be asking Kat all this, because I left all that information.
I think was it about 50 hours, around about the 50-hour mark, and then you've upped it to
48. It was
that's around 50. That's around about 50.
Round it up, okay.
But I think the biggest influence on that mushroom taste was associated with using the dried yeast. And the move as you took that flight away from 2014, I think the 2015, 2016 that's when the changes to the process were being made, and you were bringing back you were getting rid of your dried yeast, and you're putting in yeast cake, and I think you're also making other changes, like the move to try and get clear worts and all that kind of stuff. That made a difference.
That was 2016, wasn't it? The clear work. That's when the new make changes to that lovely apple kind of nose, and I think it was 2016 onwards.
Yeah, from 2016 onwards.
I think it's such an interesting tool playing around with the new make, because we always say this, but you can explain all these changes, and technical and what it should do, but until you taste it and smell it, it's really hard to to visualize that or understand it. So,
Yeah. No,
so
that's true. I think the good thing about that flight through the ages of your new make spirit is that it brings it to life. So you're making all these changes, and you're able to associate the changes with, I suppose, what people can nose and taste in the spirit. And the hope, as we were speaking earlier on about how much of an influence your new make spirit character can come through in the final product. That's I suppose part of the journey, or part of the challenge of how you can make a high quality spirit to put into whatever cask of your choice you choose to use, and making those changes that you can then say, well, you want to make a high quality spirit, and these are the things that you have to do to try and get to that point. And regardless of whether you're aiming for your premium market, or you're aiming for your consumer friendly market, you still want to make a good quality product as best as you can.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you believe, because obviously you're in the making of the spirit kind of side of things, but then kind of a lot of the romance and the marketing comes from the cask, that for us to sell it kind of, I'm trying to think of a time when we're selling a bottle to somebody in the shop and we ask a question. So, do you prefer dry yeast or do you prefer liquid yeast in your whiskey? It never really comes up, but do you prefer bourbon cask or peated? These kind of or sherry cask, that kind of thing come up a lot. We kind of have in our heads that there's between 60 and 80% of the finished flavor comes from the cask. Do you believe that, or do you think it is the process of making the spirit becoming more of an influence on the final flavor?
Well, it's interesting you asked that question, because depending on who it is that you talk to, there's a school of thought that says the character of your new make spirit, as the whiskey matures, the character of your new make spirit, depending on how good it is at the beginning, can either wane over time, or it can be sustained and hold its own. So when it comes to the influence of the cask, if you've, for the lack of a better word, you've put in a relatively low quality or low grade new make spirit whose character sort of like decreases over time, what that then means is the influence of the cask becomes even more critical, and you're relying very much on the cask to impart that final character to your new make spirit. But if you put in a high quality, high grade new make spirit into your cask, and as that matures, its characteristics do not degrade as much as a relatively lower quality. So the final product that you end up with is very much an influence of what you started off originally, and what the cask has imparted on that new make spirit, on that final mature spirit. So it's a fine balance. So you could put a relatively lower quality new make spirit, and then you have a relatively heavy reliance on the influence of the cask. But you could also look at the front end of the process and say, I'm putting in a high quality spirit, and at the end product that you end up with is sort of like, for the lack of a better word, a marriage of your cask and what you started off with. I tend to believe that you're better off putting a high grade, higher quality new make spirit into a fine cask, so that you've got a good chance of getting the best of both worlds. The character of your new make spirit and what the cask is giving you. And if you remember that we talk about single malts, there's also the blending aspect of it that comes into play. So if you take your high grade, high quality new make spirit and you put it into a cask, and it matures over time and it retains much of its original characteristics. When it comes to blending or creating recipes after 10, 12 years, you arguably don't need as much of that spirit to create the blend that you're trying to create. Whereas the flip side is that if you've started off with a relatively poorer quality spirit, when it comes to blending, you need loads and loads of that spirit to give you the blend that you're trying to make. So it sort of like works. It doesn't really work both ways. It seems to be much more advantageous to go for a high quality new make spirit rather than a relatively lower grade quality spirit.
I guess especially with the shortage of casks, is I think every week we seem to have something. It seems to come up that the industry is running out of casks. I guess if that is the potential future, you're going to want to have a really good quality new make spirit, because potentially you're going to be using casks more often or have not such a good quality of casks. So at least your spirit will stand up to maybe quite an actual wood. So I guess
in Glen Murray's case, you just use cider casks instead.
I think that was an experiment that they tried with a local brewery, which unfortunately has since shut down.
They stopped that. I think that was before your time, though, wasn't it?
Yes. But it's good. I think it's always good to experiment and try different things out, because it's good to innovate. Because if you didn't innovate, you stand still, and someone else will come along and do that for you, and before you know it, you wouldn't have a place in the market. So it's always good to try new things out. Yeah,
because the new, like the Twisted Vine range, that's all cognac finishes, is it? Or is there another one that's quite unusual to be playing around with cognac?
Yeah,
there was a distillery handful, wasn't it? It was finished in cider casks. I think it's Thistly Cross cider, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. That's what it was. Excuse me.
Yeah, have a dram. That'll fix it.
Yes, I've got a frog in my throat.
Drown him.
Drown the frog.
Yeah, drown the frog. Absolutely.
You had such a massive influence at Glen Garioch with the development of the spirit in terms of changes, direct fire inflow malting, change of yeast and fermentation, and then you kind of said, "All right, my kind of job here is done." Went off to Glen Moray. What's the challenges at Glen Moray that are exciting you?
Well, the biggest challenge is that when I got to Glen Moray, the site was undergoing a capacity expansion. So if you think 15 years back, Glen Moray was a relatively small distillery, maybe making around 2 million liters of alcohol per year. They had an expansion roundabout then where it took them to 3.5 million. There another expansion in 2015, 2016 that took them to 5 million liters, 5.5 million liters. So when I got to Glen Moray, it was slap bang in the middle of a capacity expansion where the distillery was installing an additional 6 washbacks to bring up the total number of washbacks on site to 22. It was refurbishing the old mash tun, the old 7.5 ton mash tun that they had, that had originally used to produce the 2 million liters, 3 million liters. So it was right in the middle of the works being done, and we were also looking to install a 4th wash still. So Glen Moray's got 4 wash stills and 6 spirit stills. So we had this capacity expansion project happening. So once all that work had been done, the challenge then was the challenge in this first few months of the year has been how do we get the site to run it at full capacity? So when the site is running at full capacity, we are looking to make round about 8.5 million liters of alcohol per year, which is altogether a different ball game to what Glen Moray used to be over the last 10, 15 years. and certainly very different to the experience at Glen Garioch. So the biggest challenge I would say at Glen Moray has been to optimize the site to get it to run at the required capacity to be in a position to produce that 8 million liters of alcohol per year.
It's quite like, it looks like a big site when you kind of come in off the road and you see a little cottage with the barrels and you think, oh, look at this, and then it just kind of opens out into the
Yes.
It reminds me of Shrek. You know, when they go to the fairy godmother's house and there's just this massive factory behind it. It's a huge site.
I'll let you use those words of factory.
Not factory, the production site. But yeah,
you're calling Kwanele the fairy godmother there.
Yes.
Oh, yes, the fairy godmother of whiskey.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's quite sort of like misleading, as you say, as you drive down the road on your way to the visitor center, and you see what I imagine to be sort of like the original still house, which now is basically the spirits, where the spirit stills are housed. It looks like a sort of like a quaint old-fashioned distillery. But then, as Kat says, as you go through and you go to the new production building where you've got your 10-ton mash tun sitting there with the 4 stills that have all the modern technology, your TVR to make it energy efficient. And then when you get the chance to go to the back, which at the moment most visitors to the site don't get the opportunity to actually see the fermenters. We've got a barn that has got 16 fermenters sitting there. 10 of them being 80,000 liter vessels with a capacity of 80,000. It's quite it takes you back and you realize that the site is not as small as it first appears when you get there. Yeah.
They're huge. I didn't even know what they were. I was like, what are these? You're like, oh yeah, it's like external. They're just massive. I've never seen anything like
it. And the fact that we now have 2 mash tuns, and the 2 mash tuns of different sizes. We've got a 10-ton mash that we have to do, and we've got a 6-ton mash. Both those mash tuns, the wash from those mash tuns is combined to give you the charge for your 4 wash stills. So your challenge, your first challenge then is, how do I run these mash tuns in order to be in a position to have enough spirit from both mash tuns to be able to feed my my wash stills. And you basically have to do that to the tune of trying to get around 420 tons of malt through your mill every week. For context, for context, again, to use Glen Garioch, which is what we've been talking about for most of the evening, if we did 80 tons per week, we were happy. Now we're saying we're doing 420 odd tons per week. So
that's great. It's a big step up, isn't it? From one set of stills, one wash to one spirit still to that size of operation. It's
and that was part of the challenge as well, of trying to see whether you could cut your teeth in a place like that. As you say, I'd been at Glen Garioch and had the privilege of being there when all those changes were being instituted, and when everything had been done, there was, I suppose, maybe to a certain extent, a question of, well, what's next, type thing. And fortunately, this opportunity of a shorter commute, 2 songs worth of a commute came up, and the challenges associated with it beckoned, I suppose.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I'm just going to stay on mute because somebody's outside my window playing bagpipes, so I don't know if you can hear it. Is it loud?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go back on mute.
No, don't. That's pretty cool. We've never had bagpipes on the Blether before. So.
It adds to the ambience.
I insisted on it. I was like, do you not know who Kwanele is? We'll have pipes, please. I think it might be a D-Day.
I was going to say maybe a war thing. Obviously, the 6th of June, the anniversary of the D-Day.
D-Day, yeah.
Landings. So I
don't know why they're outside my window though, because I live at the bottom of the street. I don't know why they're doing it down here, but yeah, it's nice to hear.
Yes.
But yeah, it's nice that I've seen a lot of people marking the day as well. So yeah, exactly. Cheers.
Cheers.
I think it stopped. Okay, I think we're okay.
What the message?
Only in Scotland can you get a random bagpiper standing outside your house. Just
yes.
blaring away.
I know, exactly, yeah. I mean, I love the bagpipes. So yeah, just,
at the right time.
Yeah, at the right time, exactly. Yes.
You shout out the doors. You know who I've got on the Blether tonight?
Absolutely, yeah.
Rick, the second person to comment on my glass tonight.
Yes.
There we are. So yeah, this is amber glass. It's Polish actually. It's from a company in Poland called Amber Glass. So this is their version of a Glen Garioch. It's nice. They do different shapes, and each shape is designed for a peated whiskey or a sherry cask whiskey or a bourbon cask whiskey or a wine glass and things like that. So the shape is designed to. I use it for all my whiskey, so I'm not quite into that level of geekery, but yeah, that's quite cool. I've had this glass for about 6 weeks, and only now 2 people have commented on it.
Yeah.
But
well,
Rick's going to be in Kwanele later this year, Kat, so we'll have to catch him.
No way. That's cool.
Kwanele, Rick was on the academy with us on one of the courses, so you would have taken him through the Spirit Masterclass.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. It's good. He still dials in. You must have made an impression on him.
Yeah. He's still thirsty for knowledge, so he joins in from San Francisco. So
wow. Yeah.
It must be about lunchtime now over there. Maybe 1 o'clock, I think, over there. So he also has the Whiskey Zone, which is a YouTube channel where he reviews whiskey as well. So if you're ever looking for something to listen to on your 6-minute commute to work, check out Rick.
Yeah. No, I'll make a note of that and look it up.
Awesome. Dave Ferguson saying, "Kat, your next Tinder date, the Piper, maybe."
I mean, let's not rule it out. I haven't seen.
Yeah, fair set of lungs on him, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, and then handy at sort of special occasions. I could just roll them out for special occasions. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I was going to ask a question. Dave Ferguson on YouTube, before he made the Tinder date comment, was asking Kwanele how many casks are in the warehouses at the moment?
At Glen Moray.
At Glen Moray, yeah. He's asking full casks, so none that you've been dipping your hands into.
I'd like to clarify that. How many full casks?
Yes, so Glen Moray is relative. I don't think Glen Moray is unique in the sense that it's got we've got some traditional tonnage warehouses that you see as you drive onto site, but the blue buildings that you see as you're coming onto site right at the entrance, those are the warehouses that house the majority of the casks that we have. They're palletized warehouses, and the total capacity of those, we're not right at full capacity at the moment, but we've got around 114,000 casks at Glen Moray. Yeah,
that's a lot.
Yeah.
Wow,
it is. It is. Yeah, I think we've got 4 palletized warehouses with big blue sheds that you see. You can even see them from the A96. I think each of those, some of them have a capacity of up to, I think 26,000 casks. We've got palletized, normally palletize them to 7 or 8 high. Yeah, I think you had the opportunity to see that when you came on tour with Form, didn't you?
Yeah, you very kindly showed us all around about the place.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's
All
impressive.
106,000.
yeah.
Oh,
That's
just the
crazy.
scale of the place. It must just be a sort of different day of work for you, obviously, just because the scale is just much bigger. And a lot of what you do, a lot of spirit goes into blend, I guess, doesn't it? Is
Yeah,
it the vast
yeah.
majority of the spirit for blending?
Yeah, the vast majority of our spirit goes into blends. I'm sure, I don't know, you've all heard of Label 5. That's a big brand for the company, La Martiniquez. There's also, I'm sure everyone's heard of Ketisac. That's one of the brands that's owned by La Martiniquez. It took me a while to learn that French pronunciation, and now I've just botched it up. Been practicing in front of the mirror for the last 12 months. But yeah, those are the sort of like big brands that are made at within Glen Turner, which is sort of like the parent company of Glen Moray. Yes, a large proportion of our, so the 8 million that we hope to make when running at full capacity, a large proportion of that would be for blending, and a tiny proportion is for the Glen Moray single malt.
Okay.
That's cool.
I mean, you say a tiny proportion, but I guess it's to be the second biggest seller in the UK. It's still quite a lot of whiskey.
Well, when I say tiny proportion, it's relative to what we've made in total. Yeah, so I think off the top of my head, I would say the proportion that's earmarked for single malt is the equivalent of what Glen Garioch makes in a year. So that
Oh,
sort of like
wow.
maybe puts that sort of like puts it into perspective. So it's
Yeah.
tiny relative to the total amount of alcohol that's been made on site, but volume wise, it's quite a chunky proportion, I would say.
Yeah. I guess, like, because I always thought Glen Moray was maybe more reasonably priced because there was the volume aspect of it because you were producing so much. But when you look at it from the other side, a lot of that volume is just going into the blends as well. So
yeah,
that's really interesting. But yeah, much bigger numbers than what you came from anyway. But
yes.
coming from Diageo, I guess you were maybe used to large scale and volume from that side of things.
Yeah, because I wasn't the distillery manager at Roselle, but I worked within that group. Roselle again was a different scale to what I went to when I left Diageo. Roselle had, I think there were 10 million liters of alcohol type distillery. Again, they've got 2 mash tons. Their mash size is around 25 tons per mash, and that's feeding I think 14 washbacks with a fill capacity of 110,000 liters of wash. So again, moving from that kind of operation to where you're saying you've got a 4-ton mash and we're putting 20,000 liters in the washback, it's quite eye-opening in a way. I think when it comes to, from what I've seen in my experience, when it comes to operating at that level of scale, there tends to be a great deal more automation involved in your process, whereas the experience of Glen Garioch is very much, for the lack of a better word, craftsmanship type thing. So it's very as close as you possibly can be to the traditional way of how whiskey is made. So I think when you talk about the romantic side of when you romanticize the making of the whiskey, you wouldn't think of a Roselle or a Glen Moray in its current guise. You'd be thinking more along the lines of your Glen Gariochs of this world, where there's a degree of automation, but there's still a heavy reliance on the craftsmanship and the skill and the knowledge of your operators. Yeah.
How big's the team over at Glen Moray in the ops team?
They've got 10 distillery operators, just the same as what you've got at Glen Garioch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's it's quite interesting when you begin to look at those aspects of all these places. Again, good case in point is the floor maltings that you've got at Glen Garioch, where when I left, you had a team of 4 maltings operators. I think we're making just shy of was it 20 tons of malt per week. When you take that and you say your commercial maltsters within Diageo, again, I worked within the Baghead Group. It's not a commercial maltster per se, but it made malt for most of the distilleries in Speyside. They were making close to, I think, 85,000 tons of malt in a year. But then when you say how many operators worked, when you ask that question and people tell you, oh, they only had 15 operators to operate that plant. So you've got 15 operators making, let's round it up to 90,000 tons of malt. So each operator basically makes close to 6,000 tons of malt per year. Then when it comes to your floor maltings, again using Glen Garioch, you'd be lucky to make 400-500 tons of malt for the whole year. Yeah,
that's great.
So yeah, but that's an interesting aspect, because there's obviously the economics associated with that. How then do those economics play out in terms of obviously you could argue that the cost of making a liter should shoot up by logic alone, where you have got a smaller output type thing. So it's quite interesting when you begin to look at those aspects of how these plants run and operate, which then sort of like takes us back almost full circle to the conversation that we had earlier on about your premiumization and all that aspect of your process. So yeah. But to answer your question, we've got 10 distillery operators, which run pretty much like all other distilleries are up and down the length and breadth of Scotland, with 10 operators. Yeah.
That's amazing, isn't it? Did you ever try the new make spirit from the 100% floor that we did? So
no,
we did
no. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you'll have to come back.
Yeah.
And try it.
Yeah. I might come by. I might darken your door one of these days.
You should do, definitely.
Yeah,
Don't be a stranger. We had Jeff in the other day as well. So yeah, come by.
Oh,
Come and try this.
So okay. Yeah. Has Jeff been?
Jeff popped in. I think he was coming back from somewhere, so he popped in and came to say hello to everybody. I think he stayed there for most of the day, because I saw him in the morning. He was there at lunchtime. So yeah.
No, I might come back and add a bit more confusion into the mix.
More confusion. No, we don't need any more confusion.
That provides enough confusion for everyone. It's all right.
Yeah.
I'm confused most days. Don't add.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
That's so good. I just love how you're just taking that, what I would regard as a massive. It's like me decided to open a chain and having like 10 whiskey shops instead of just one.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting way of putting it. But
still working with the same amount of staff.
Yeah, I suppose that was part of the challenge. Is can you basically cut it at a place like that has to be that operates on a different scale, and how do you put that all together and make it actually work in practice, where of course nowadays most of what distilleries or distillers do, we sit behind the computer in front of spreadsheets and you put all these plans together. The challenge then is, how do you actually make that a reality? How does that actually pan out, where you've made certain assumptions about how things would go, how long they would take, and because you've told the higher ups that you're going to make this work. So yeah. And then when push comes to shove, you're looking for your we're doing 52 mashes a week. and which is basically works out to about 8 mashes per day for 6.5 days of the week. And then you're only getting 40 mashes, and your bosses are asking you, well, you told us that this will happen. And so yeah, it's part of the fun, I would say. It's part of the fun. Yeah.
Sounds cool.
I guess there's always the things you can't factor for, like breakdowns or emotional breakdowns and mechanical breakdowns.
I think the emotional breakdowns come when you don't get your targets. But no, it's telling that for some of the places where again, going by my experience at Glen Garioch, we had the target volume to make, but there was a bit of slack in the sense that if you dropped or lost production during the week, there was a chance that you could make it up at some point during the year by either trying to do more mashes or starting up after silent season, maybe a couple of days earlier to try and claw back your drop production. In this instance, or in this world that I'm now operating in, a breakdown is a cause for much tears and much grief, because it means that whatever production you drop or lose, you can never make up, because everything is so tight. You're very much reliant on your plant equipment being as reliable as it possibly can be, which puts a lot of pressure on plant maintenance and trying to keep the plant in good condition for you to then be able to go out and meet your targets or produce the number of mashes that you're meant to do.
Yeah, it's difficult. I think a lot of whiskey productions predict in the future as well, because you're trying to predict how much you need to produce and what the trends are going to be in the next. You're popping stuff into casks to mature for a certain number of years. A lot of it's crystal kind of fortune telling.
It is because a lot of the spirit, as you're saying, that's being produced today has to sit in a cask for a minimum of 3 years. There's I'm sure a lot of sites across Scotland that have undertaken capacity expansions. All of that's based on forecasts of what might happen in the future. So there's an element. I wouldn't say it's quite crystal ball gazing, but there's an element. There must be a science behind it that you can't just pluck numbers from fresh air and say on the back of these numbers. Yeah.
I guess there's probably learning from the past, looking back and saying, well, this is the trends and cycles of periods, because we've had whiskey locks and we've had downturns and we've had upturns. I don't think we've ever quite witnessed an upturn like we're seeing at the moment in terms of, and so many new distilleries coming on the go purely for a single malt market rather than being selling to blenders as well. But on the other side, we've got so many independent bottlers as well. So and I guess that whiskey's always going to be, you make that now because you can't buy time back. Can you? No. So you need to make that whiskey now. And in 20 years, if there's a downturn, let's leave it in the cask for another 10 years and see if it comes back, because it's not going anywhere. Well, it's going somewhere, but very, very slowly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
You look at guys like Springbank and Glen Scotia who survived the Campbelltown kind of crash. What they were doing was having faith in time and making sure it's still quality. The other guys that were left to catch up and what they kind of released was inferior, and that's how Springbank and Glen Scotia and the like kind of pushed through and kept going. There's a balancing act, I guess, and that's interesting. I'm going to go back to a question that the Big Pour asked. I've been waiting for a wee gap to come in. We're talking about the Glen Moray core range, how successful it's been, how easy it is, and the great value.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that kind of it doesn't irk me because I know it has its place, and it's kind of like Tom and Towell and these kind of guys who have their place in the whiskey. But it maybe is a little bit off-putting for people who have gone into whiskey in a big way. The kind of the connoisseurs, the geeks, the guys who love the whiskey is the 40% ABV. He's asking, Big Boar's asking, is there plans? Because I knew you kind of switched to an age statement not too long ago. I think it was still under Graham. The 12, the 15, the 18 came out.
Yeah.
Is there plans maybe to have a core range of a high in ABV, or is it?
Not that I'm aware of plans to have a core range of age statement whiskies. No, I'm not aware of that. I tend to I don't know if it's come across in this conversation. I tend to shy away from those kind of conversations.
Yeah.
I mean, you disappeared pretty quickly when we got back into the visitor centre. I was like, yes, is Kwanele out of his comfort zone now? He's away, back to the office.
Back to my spreadsheets.
I think the benefit of like sort of one of the big USPs of Glen Moray is the fact that like your kind of distillery exclusives are so reasonable. Like a lot of times you go into a distillery and you look at the like sort of like your bottle your owns or your sort of distillery exclusives, and they can be a bit of an investment, but your ones are just such affordable, achievable whiskies, and like anything Glen Moray and port's always amazing. But I guess it's nice for people that are kind of getting into the whiskey journey and kind of feel like they've done that sort of that unique thing of, I've done a bottle your own or a distillery exclusive, and it hasn't, they've not had to sell a child or a kidney to do it.
I think that sort of like maybe opens up the debate about what's whiskey for. Is whiskey an investment, or is whiskey meant to be something that people consume and enjoy? Yes, I'm sure there's a place for your what you could arguably call your high-end market products that, as Kat says, you have to sell your kidney to be able to afford. But then at the same time, there's a place for those more consumer-friendly, affordable products that, as Kat says, you can find it at Glen Moray, that distillery exclusives. You can't get them anywhere else, but you're not breaking the bank to get quite a good product to take home and enjoy. You wouldn't think twice about getting a bottle of your own at Glen Garioch and then sitting down to consume that later on in the evening. And
they look like quality as well. It's not like you just hand it over in like a cardboard box. Like you've got like this beautiful kind of I don't know what you call it, but packaging. Like it's nice and it's not a lot. I mean, it's hard to get into if you're an idiot. Which I've had.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I'm never going to get back into this. I can't remember how I did it last time. I tried to open it live on air like a couple of months ago, and I was like, "How do you get into this stupid box?" But it's actually really easy. It's just I think it was easy, but I can't remember how I got into it. I'm not even going to bother, to be honest. But yeah, it's a lovely like the whole thing is just like a nice, affordable kind of special moment. And that's what you want when you go to a distillery. I would kind of want to buy like the thing that I couldn't get in the supermarket, or the thing I couldn't get in my local shop. I kind of want to get the thing that's maybe unique to the distillery.
Yeah.
And it's just not always affordable. So I really appreciated that about Glen Moray, and the staff were great. They let me try. I was like, by the way, I know Kwanele. Did you see that he came in with me?
Did that work?
For about 5 minutes, and they realised that I was just going to try and drink them dry. Well, there was a nice range. So yeah, no, it's a fun dram, and it's a lovely visitor centre too, because you've got the cafe there as well. So I guess maybe you get a lot of people just coming in for like coffee and stuff, maybe. Or
we do. Many a time I've been sitting in the office and I hear a knock on the door, and it turns out to be people that I used to work with at Diageo that have since retired, that have just come into the cafe to have a coffee or a bowl of soup type thing, and that's something that they do, that they've always done. So yeah, it's quite a good place for the locals to come in and have a sandwich or two type thing.
Yeah. No, it's nice. It's a good space.
It is. Yeah, and now being sort of like heading into the summer, almost the height of tourist season, the number of coaches that we see coming up and down that road, this is quite a sight. It's quite a sight.
Yeah, I was speaking to a coach driver the other day, obviously because tourist season's kicked off with us as well, and he was like kind of raging about the lack of distilleries that now accept coaches, because after COVID, a lot of distilleries just decided, actually, no, we're not going to reopen the coaches. So there's very, very few distilleries that will accept coaches. He was saying that one of the only ones was you guys at Glen Moray, and of course us at Glen Garioch. We can't deal with them just as well as maybe you guys can, because you're a bit of a bigger setup. We struggle with coaches a little bit. But yeah, there are very, very few distilleries now, and maybe you've seen this, Mike, that it's harder to book in to places than it used to be.
Yeah, and I think the general public are strong, because it used to be that you could walk into the distillery and, when's your next tour? Oh, half an hour, you can join it. It's very much, everywhere has to be booked in advance now. And yeah, from COVID onwards, and I think from restricting numbers, there was distilleries, Glen Grant, who I think are closed altogether to visitors for the moment for a refurb. I apologise if I'm wrong. Don't phone the distillery. Make sure you find out. Don't just cancel any plans. Even Glenfiddich, who are kind of really welcoming to coaches and stuff, are being a lot stricter. They've reduced their numbers to 8 or 10. And I remember doing a Glenfiddich tour when you start off in a wee cinema, and there must have been about 20, 25 people in it. But I like the experiences being smaller, because you feel like it's a bit more intimate. It's a bit more one-to-one, and you have the tour guide's attention a lot more, rather than them just reading a script and kind of moving on. And you don't feel as bad asking questions, because you've got a wee bit more time as well. I prefer. I hate it when I phone up a distillery and they're all fully booked and I can't get a tour organised. But the experience itself is much more. It's a bit much more personable and intimate, and I really like that about it.
Okay.
I had a guy playing pipes outside my window a minute ago, and now there's a guy who's just let his dog poop outside my window, and he's just picking it up with a plastic bag. I mean, it's good that he's picking it up, but like, why is all of this happening outside my window tonight? Had a piper, and now just a dog's taking a poop outside my window. I was just about to put you guys on mute and just go and give this guy into trouble until I saw the bag coming out of his pocket.
What kind of dog was it?
Oh, it's one of those it's pointless poodle cross thing. Why would you take an ugly dog and breed it with a nice dog? I don't understand. You even get me started. You know how I go on a tangent most weeks about things that annoy me. Poodles crossed with nice dogs annoy me. So it's a good job he's picked up that poop, because he was getting it back.
Yeah, you've done so well to stay on whiskey this
evening.
We've done really well. We have done really well. Usually we go off on a slight tangent.
Yeah. Okay.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. No, yeah. I just saw Reb's comment here that he was in at the Distillery 3 weeks ago looking for an ex-bourbon single cask at Glen Moray. He couldn't find one, but I've just opened my Glen Moray from Port of Leith. Port of Leith, and it's a second fill bourbon, and it's absolutely beautiful. They've taken it down to 46%. It's just, it's really, really yum. I'll give you a wee sample, Mike, next time I see you, but it's really nice.
Sounds good. So Reb, good evening. Reb came into the shop. He is over from Israel. He was over from Israel, and he was looking for a kosher whiskey. No sherry casks.
Did you just die there for a second? Did you just pause, or did your battery just die there for a second? There was such a big pause.
What's that? Oh, that was for dramatic effect, I think. I don't know. I don't think had a great chat with Reb. He came into the shop, and so obviously with his religion, there's certain things that they can't have, and so yeah, it was really interesting chat and looking at kosher regulations and being officially accredited. So I was learning all about the two different bodies. So there's the UK and the US who have different symbols, and you can look on the back of the bottles and see if it's been accredited as kosher. So they can't have what certain
That'd be
things that.
interesting to know more about. Because, like, I know some distilleries will specifically produce a kosher bottle, but it's something we're asked about quite a bit. But I don't know enough about it to answer that confidently at all. So
American oak is one.
Interesting. More.
Yeah. We had two rabbis in the space of 6 months come to site to do an audit in order to certify some of the Glen Moray products as kosher. So there are some casks, from what I picked up, there are some casks like any cask that has had a type of wine in it is generally not regarded to be kosher because of I think it's some of the agents that are used to refine your wine are taken from fish or something.
Yeah.
And that therefore renders them to be non-kosher, if there's such a term. So the rabbis that came, the first one that came, he came from, I think, Belgium. I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying this. He had a limited English, and my French is maybe even more limited than his English was. So we had an interesting conversation with Google Translate, sort of like coming to the fore. But fortunately, one of the staff members in the office is fluent in French, so he got roped in to come and sit with us for a couple of hours to act as a translator. But basically that's what they were sort of like looking for, to see the process of your making the whiskey, but more significantly, how are you maturing that product? What cask types are you using? The second rabbi that came was it was in February this year. He fortunately was Scottish born, so we didn't have any need for no French translation. Yeah, so it's I think it's related to wine casks being used for having obviously wine, and I think they're called finings. It isn't glass or something like that. That's used to clarify your wine, and its origins.
So I think Rev's just put a comment on it's nothing to do with the fish, and I would solve that belief as well. But I think it's to do with the type of animal. It has to be. I think it has to be like a cow or a goat or something like that, and there's something to do with the way they're slaughtered as well.
Okay.
I think. He's commented.
We've got Reb here just clarifying what you meant.
Only specially prepared wine was used in the Jerusalem temple. We only drink wine prepared by observant Jews as made in the temple. Okay, so it's more to do with the type of wine and how the wine is made rather than anything to do with animals.
Okay. Every day is a school day.
There's nothing to do with animals.
Thank you for sharing that, because this is what I didn't know, because I knew there were certain casks that potentially were not suitable, but I didn't know the reasons why or which one. So that's interesting to know. Definitely something I'm going to look into. I've made myself a note to learn more about that, because it is a question we get asked. I just don't know enough about it, but that's on me. I should just be finding out more about it. So
I think to stay safe, just pure bourbon casks, ex-bourbon casks, no wine casks.
I'm happy with that. Like, let's just make that a rule.
Reb did go away the tequila cask, Glasgow distillery. He went away with that. So tequila is fine. You can have tequila.
Nice. Well, I really liked. I enjoyed that one. That was good. I wonder if Reb's cracked into it yet, because that was an interesting dram. You'll have to let us know what you thought of it, Reb.
Absolutely. So he's an expert. Why don't we ask Reb to be on the Blether. We could have.
Do
That
you know
would
what,
be cool.
Reb? Send me an email. So if you know Mike's email, just change the name Mike and make it Cat, and send me an email, and we'll get in touch. Does Red know your email, Mike?
That'd be really interesting to educate us and the watchers.
Absolutely.
Our
definitely.
blethering, which we're now deciding we're going to call you guys at home.
See when you came away with that. So every week, Kwanele, we keep talking about the fact I want merchandise for the Blether because I'm that shallow. But Mike messaged the other day to say that it was something to do with the Blether. Maybe I think I messaged you or something with the next guests, and you'd said, "Oh, we'll add to the Blethering." I was like, "That is the best nickname for our viewers, the Blethering." So we're putting a hashtag on that to get merchandise and copywriting it. So it's
next year you're going to get the t-shirts out.
Oh, I'm totally getting t-shirts. Definitely. That's brilliant. It's a nice little community. We have some people that watch every week, and they come from all around the world. So it's nice that people give us their time, and obviously nice that you guys, our guests, give us your time as well, because I know how valuable your time is, Kwanele.
No, it's a privilege. It's a privilege to come and spend a Thursday evening speaking about all things whiskey and much more.
Well, I've always said that you're one of the most interesting people that I've met in the industry, and you've always been very, very good to me because I have plagued you with questions, and I pretty much wrote a whole script based around coming to ask you questions all the time. We pretty much became the duo that were wheeled out every time we had a VIP visit. So and
absolutely.
Dave is not enjoying the fact that he's now
is it the one? Is Dave doing that? I should come and see one of these. I should speak to Mike. Next time he has the Whiskey Academy coming to Glen Garioch, I'll just tag along.
Oh my God, yes.
You'd be more than welcome anytime.
Ever since we took that photograph of the first Whiskey Academy and you'd stood accidentally right in front of Sir Patrick Manson's portrait, and it looked like you were framed inside the portrait.
That is such an awesome picture. I think it was Paul that commented when I posted the picture. It was does it look like Kwanele's in the picture?
Yeah.
This is a lovely message from Red Mordechai. Dr. Kwanele, Glen Moray 12-year-old from 1982 was the first single malt he ever tasted, so he owes Glen Moray everything.
That's lovely.
How cool is that?
Yeah, so that got him into the world of whiskey then.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
That was made even before I was born. That's amazing. How cool is that?
So tell us, Red, was that your first visit to the distillery, or have you been there a few times? I assume you've been there a few times, given your knowledge on whiskey when we spoke in person.
Do you know, that's what I love about distilleries as well, though, because everybody has that first dram, and then it just becomes part of their journey through life, because it was their first dram. They then use it for special family occasions like weddings, births of babies and stuff. I love that about whiskey, because it's more than just getting drunk. It's like part of people's life. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
It is.
I mean, you think you guys have been on the go for like 130 odd years. I mean, like, you've got 100 years less than Glen Garioch, but that's not your fault.
It's not a competition, Kat.
I've been trying to shoehorn that in all night. And I saw it was 1897. I was like,
yes. No, yeah. It's a full 100 years, as you say. Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
1897. Yeah. But the interesting thing about Glen Moray as well is, since 1797, there's only been, if you exclude me, there's only been 4 distillery managers of the site since then.
really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
In 100 since 1897.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I had the pleasure of Ed Dodson, who was the manager before Graham Cole, He lives, I think he still lives in Elgin. So he came to the distillery and we're having a chat, and he told me that's when that information came up, that he was the third distillery manager. I think the first two managers had relatively very long stints. I think the first guy was from 1797 to 1929. The second guy was from 1929 to about 1958 or something like that, which was quite a long stint. Yeah, and then there was a guy from 1958 to when Ed took over. Yeah, so it's certainly less than 6 distillery managers, I would say. Yeah,
That's
which
awesome,
I found quite
legacy to be part of, though. Like, you're now number 5. That's very, very cool.
Yeah, 5 or 6. Yeah, number 5 or 6, which I think over 100 and what did you say, 130 years?
130 years.
127 years.
You're in it for the long haul, Kwanele. You can't leave a leg. You can't just go there for a couple of years and leave. That's the next 20 years of your life.
but these are modern times. Things have changed. Yeah, no, it's quite. In a way, it's quite humbling in the sense that the distillery has been there for all that long, but there's not it's a very short list of people that have had that privilege of working in the distillery and I suppose making a mark and leaving a legacy. Yeah, I think it's what do they say? That famous saying about standing on the shoulders of giants and all that kind of stuff comes to mind. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And there's very few industries you could say that, unless it's a family-owned business. There's very few industries where you can say that you've had that sort of longevity of staff over the years as well. It's a good sign of a good place to work if the staff stay for a long time.
And generally speaking, that's what you can say about the whiskey industry, that people tend to have relatively long tenures as distillery workers, whether they're maybe not so much the managers these days, where people tend to move around a lot more, but certainly within your operator population, you find people working for 20, 30 odd years. I mean, when I got to Glen Moray, there was people that had just retired, and they'd spent, I think 2 of them had spent over 40 years, 45 years working at the distillery. So it's quite telling that the length of time that people spend working within the industry and within a particular distillery speaks volumes about what a good industry it is to be involved in, I'd say.
Yeah, it is. But when you consider, you look at something like Chelsea Football Club, have probably had 5 managers in the last 2 years. So
yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it maybe brings to the fore the idea of the distilleries being part of the community, as in not just when we talk about all the stuff about being efficient and being profitable and all the rest of it, but at the core of it, you do need to have the distillery as being part and parcel of the community in which they exist in, I would say. And 9 times out of 10, the people that work in the distilleries tend to be locals. I think at Glen Garioch, we had a guy who was a 3rd generation or 4th generation distillery operator type.
Kenny.
Yeah, Kenny. But there was another guy, a younger guy that came in. His granddad had worked at the distillery. His dad had worked at the distillery, and he was he was 3rd generation. He was a 3rd generation distiller. And I remember joking with Dave that is there a chance? I think he had a daughter. Whether we could sign up his daughter so that she could become the. But she's only 5 or 6 or something like that.
Right. Okay. So get her
yeah. But yeah, I think it's it bears testimony to the idea of your distilleries being part and parcel of the community in which they exist in. So, and giving employment to the local people, and the local people reaping the benefits of having them in their midst. Yeah.
I mean, there's communities that have been built up around the distillery. You look at places like Cardew and Tomatin and Tomatin and these kind of places. The village itself is built up because
around the distillery.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
She came back. Hello, Kat.
Yes.
Yep.
Internet. I think one of my children must have come back, sneaked in and turned the internet on. They're banned for the internet for the whole of the Blether, but maybe one of them's managed to turn something on.
Yeah.
Blooming teenagers.
We've got Donner Pass Whiskey on YouTube, and he's saying, hello, folks. Hello. How are you? He thinks Glen Moray is underrated. We all do. The 18 is the core range bottle for us as whiskey nerds, and one of the lowest price 18s as well.
Yeah.
Reiterating what we were saying earlier on, the value for money. Do you know what the biggest problem for us as a retailer when it comes to Glen Moray is? We get something like a 20-year-old single cask from an independent bottler, and it's £100, 120, £150, whatever it is. People look at the word Glen Moray and they think, oh, that's going to be quite cheap. And they look at the price and think, why are you charging that for Glen Moray? It's like, well, it's a single cask and it's 20 years old. Oh, I can get the 18-year-old for, I think it retails for about 70-ish, 75 maybe, I think, which is outstanding. And you know, that's a hurdle we have to kind of overcome. But it's a credit to you guys that people see the name and they instantly know, they have an idea of that kind of price range that they should be.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah.
It's a cracking, and yes, as Don was saying, you know, price wise, is the 18 40% as well, or is that a wee bit higher? I
think it's 40%.
Yeah, I think it's 40 as well.
Yeah.
Do you know, it must be one of the most mispronounced ones as well, surely, because everybody must look at that and say Glen Moray and not Glen Moray, because that's a very Aberdeen term. Yeah, like a Moray eel. Most folk would probably look at that and pronounce it as Glen Moray, I'd imagine, wouldn't they? Because I think even out of Aberdeenshire, most folk would pronounce that as Moray and not as Moray, because it just doesn't look like Moray.
Yeah. No, no, it doesn't.
Yeah, the locals know that Moray is the area, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Murrayshire. You don't say Morayshire.
No, unless you're from Edinburgh, of course, and then you would.
Yeah.
We love you, Edinburgh. Of course we do.
Well, Donner Pass Whiskey said the 18 is 47.2%.
Oh, wow.
Full maturation. First full bourbon casks. So it's kosher, it's Cat Street, it's just higher
that's
ABV.
going to be basket. Yeah, I'm going to look out for that one.
Yeah.
It must be in the shop though. It's part of your core range. I'd imagine it must be in the shop.
It is. Yeah, it is in the shop. Yeah, it is in the shop because I remember I got one for Christmas to give away as a Christmas present last year. So
that must have got lost in the post because it never arrived at my house.
You need to resend that.
I need to resend. I will. Next Christmas.
Next Christmas.
Glass. Pick that up in your visitor centre when I was over. Your little Glen Moray glass. Wow. I know I'm feeling on brand tonight.
Yes.
Look, I left it in Pom's car, so she had it for about 4 months until I met in with her for a coffee the other day, and she handed it over. I was like, well, that's good timing, because actually I'll need
that. At least you didn't use it or keep it for yourself.
Well, I know, exactly. I would track that down. I like my little Glen Cairns. Although I need somewhere to put them. I kind of feel like I want to display all my little Glen Cairns, because I buy one every time I go to the distillery, but like they just get put in the cupboard. but I kind of want to have them on show somewhere. But
you have a whole wall to your right-hand side. You could have a little
That's-
shelf there.
I could have a little Glen Garioch shelf, couldn't I? Put little tea lights in them, make them into a chandelier or something. Harder to drink out of if they're a chandelier. I should do something with them. But yeah, I've got a whole
It couldn't just be a shelf with glasses on it. You had to go down chandelier or something.
Well, you know, I do have illusions of grandeur.
I do wonder where your mind goes sometimes.
Oh, do you know, I do all the time. And if I can't figure it out, I don't think there's any hope anybody else will, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, my middle son said to me the other day, he's like, why are you so weird? Like, you're nice and everything, but why are you so weird? I'm like, I can't answer that.
Is this while he was holding the bottle of Williamson?
Yeah.
I know. So I wanted to get a nice picture of my Glen Moray this morning. Because obviously you're coming on the chat, and Kwanele, it's a pity you don't do Instagram, because I've put up the most excruciatingly, you'll hate the reel that I've put up with you in it. But
okay. What did you think?
I've put up a little reel of when we came to visit you at Glen Moray. So it was when we Tom and But so do you remember how you tormented me with the video that you used to like to play every time I came?
Yes, I do.
Which will not be sharing.
No, I won't be sharing.
I hope you don't have access to that anymore.
No, I saved it. I've got it somewhere on a flash drive somewhere. I think
you better not. That needs to be consigned.
Well, can you send that to me, please?
Yes, I think you deserve to see that, Mike.
Please.
No, nobody needs to see that. It can affect people indefinitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I made a little reel of like our little visit to you, but I put I put on like a little theme tune. So yeah, you would hate it. It's on my Instagram just now, but it's not as bad as the video that you had of
That was you and what was you and Jeff and Mike Buffett.
It was, yeah. Oh God, yes. Because Pom filmed it. Oh my God, it's the worst thing. But it's just so fun. I'll never get rid of that.
No, you'll never live that down, I don't think. Never. And Rob was there as well.
And Rob, it's ruined Euphoria for me. Every time I hear that song on the radio, I have to turn it off.
It brings back flashbacks.
It's a trigger. It's a proper trigger. And then I'd walk into the office and clock in, and you'd be playing it on your bloody computer.
No, I'd wait until I see you walk past the window, and then yeah.
Evil side of Dr. Kwanele.
Well, that's that little bit of mayhem that he was talking about, wasn't it?
Yes, a little confusion here.
Confusion and mayhem.
And you know, he would there'd be like a pause where we thought, oh, he's forgotten about it, and then every now and again that video would reappear.
Yeah, I think Mike asked for it to be taken down from the intranet, the company intranet, because it was on there as well. For the first time.
It was everywhere. It was absolutely everywhere. Horrific. Absolutely horrific.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat as everyone at home now, thinking we need to see it.
Yes. I think I'll connect my thing and I'll send it to you, Mike, if I can find it.
Please. Yeah, my mobile number is in the bottom of the email. So.
Yeah.
No, definitely not. Nobody needs to see that.
When's your birthday, Kat? Is it a Thursday this year? We could always pop it on.
Yes.
No, I think my internet might be really bad from now on, if that's the
Awesome.
Oh dear.
Everyone has a skeleton in the closet, don't they?
They very much do, and that's
especially this day and age. You can't do anything without being filmed.
Yeah.
That's the internet for you, though. Once something goes up, that's it. You just can't get it back.
No, you can't get it back. That's recorded for posterity, as I say.
It is. You know, for anybody that's ever been to Infree Whiskey Shop and used the toilet, depending on what you're doing, you may be required to sit down on the toilet. And if you're a girl, then yes, 100% of the time you'll be sitting down. So directly opposite the toilet. So there's the very famous photograph of you, Kwanele, with the guns out, the Kanye pose. Mike has that cut out on the toilet wall. And weirdly, it's the only picture he has. No, it's not. And the whole wall is full of...
That must be a frightening thought.
It's life-size at the back of the door. Just a few.
And it was always so weird. So whenever I was like at work, I would go into the bathroom and kind of, sit down, mind my own business. And then obviously you were still at Glen Garioch and you were just there watching me. So Mike, you want to move it over slightly. It's just really...
Yeah, it must be disconcerting.
Just to confirm that we're not complete creeps. It's a montage of lots of different pictures.
All whiskey related. All Kwanele related.
It's
the whole wall.
It's a shrine.
The whole wall is a shrine. Yeah.
Oh, I so want to do that now. Just for next time you're in the shop, Kat, you're going to walk out the toilet. It's just this cardboard cutout of Kwanele stuck to the back of the door.
Well, it's the fact that your toilet's so high up, so my legs are always... I can't even reach the floor, so I can't escape easily either.
We'll get speakers in it and we'll play Euphoria while you're in there.
Yes, that's the idea. that's the way to go.
A weird fever dream.
Yeah.
Oh, see, now it's diverged. Now it's taking a turn, but I think that might be my fault, to be honest.
Can we just jump back to whiskey just for a second? Sorry to disappoint. Donner Pass has commented again. He's saying he was reading the info. He says it's very cool that Kwanele were part of the Floor Maltings return and the team that got that going. He had a sample of a 1995 lightly peated sherry cask Glen Garioch.
So that was just before we closed down and stopped being peated. So that would have been one of the last examples of Glen Garioch being lightly peated. So that's really interesting.
Yeah. And I think they still had floor maltings then as well, because I think the last floor maltings, was it?
93 was when they kind of started stopping with the floor malting. They might have still been potentially using.
Yeah.
I wonder where he's got that from. Donner Pass Whiskey, let me know where you got that from, whether it's a distillery bottling or whether you got it through an independent. That's interesting.
Yeah. How old was it when you tried it as well? Would be cool too.
Yeah, I know we've got a couple of distillery releases that were 95. It's just because we've got them in our archive. So I wonder if it's one of those that he's got or not. That's interesting. That's cool. It's been an homage to Glen Garioch and Glen Moray tonight. It's been a good mashup of the two.
Yeah, it has. It has. Yeah,
it's been wonderful. It's been great to have you on, Kwanele. That's us just about the 2 hour mark. They have flown by. Red's just opened his Glasgow 1770 tequila cask. Wow, what an aroma! Huge punch of pineapple juice, floral, vanilla, honey. Wow, this is good.
That's cool. I definitely got the floral notes. It was kind of like green bananas when I tried it. That kind of well, yeah, you know what green bananas are like, but I really enjoyed it. It was good. It's an interesting.
They're like yellow ones, but green.
Yes, that's the vibe I was going down. Yeah. Oh, hang on. Donna got it from I don't know how to pronounce that, from the
Foodquig
YouTube channel. He found it dusty on a liquor store shelf in Alberta, Canada. So it's probably an original distillery bottling. Is that what we're going by?
Yeah,
that's cool.
I would say so. Be quite tall with the stag on it rather than the shorter.
No.
No.
Hang on. I'm trying to think when we moved over now. That's terrible.
Get the grey
No.
matter going.
I know. I think it might still be in the tartan. We'll wait to see what he says. But I think it might still be the black. I think it's black tartan. Distillery single
Distillery.
cask. That's an interesting one. Cool. Send us a picture. Get my email.
do.
Send me a picture.
Kwanele, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been great to catch up. Lovely to see you again. I'm glad things are working at Glen Moray and going great guns. I need to get up and see you guys. It's a distillery I've been to many times, but I've never actually done the tour.
Okay. Wow.
And our first ever exclusive, shop exclusive, was a Glen Moray.
Okay.
It's a fully matured Burgundy wine cask, 10-year-old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Which was, and we bottled that 56.5%, and we were able to sell it at like 50 quid a bottle. It was crazy. It was ridiculously good value.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah.
No, it's been my privilege. I think when Kat first talked about coming onto the Blether, that was just before I left Glen Garioch, April 2023. I wasn't quite sure what to expect. I wasn't quite sure what it is that I would be able to come and say without rubbing a few people the wrong way. But I decided that it's better to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I do that to Tony every week.
Yeah. So no, it's been a privilege. It's been an enjoyable Thursday evening. I had no idea that it would turn out to be very conversational and quite interesting. Yeah, very conversational. So yeah.
Glad you've enjoyed it. I've been so excited about the thought of getting you on. So thank you so much for giving up your time. And you're welcome back on whenever you like. I won't hunt you down this time.
No, I think now that we've sorted out that little problem of your emails going into my spam inbox. Yeah. So
she won't be quite as welcoming when you send that video out.
Yes, that might change. I think when that video pops up.
I will hunt you down, but not in a good way if that video ever surfaces.
No, thanks, Mike, and thanks, Kat.
Thank you so
much. Thanks to all the people that have joined in. Hopefully, they've found value in it as well.
I hope they have. Yeah, I'm sure they have. I certainly have as well. I've learned so much from you as well. It's great to have a chat. Before all the guys at home disappear, Kat, who's our guest next week?
Next week we have got Whiskey Ventures, which if you follow his social media, he was the guy that cycled around all the distilleries last year. So he is going to pop on and tell us about all of that. And I think he does a few whiskey tastings and things. He now does off the back of that too. So he cycled around every distillery in Scotland, and he's now putting together a plan to do England and Wales, I think. So it'd be interesting to hear.
When you say he cycled around every distillery, he cycled to every distillery. He didn't just drive to the distillery, cycle around it, and then go to the next.
You would never get a bike. You, Glen Garioch. No, he cycled to them, not through them.
Excellent.
That would be an interesting story.
That's pretty cool. So, guys, if you want to know what it takes to cycle to every distillery in Scotland, that's crazy.
I think it. Don't quote me on that, because there was maybe some he didn't get to. I don't know, but we'll find out more about it next week.
Next Thursday. Okay.
Thank you so much, guys. Kwanele, it's been a pleasure.
No worries.
Kat, what else is there to say about what you bring to the every week? That hasn't already been said.
I am taking that as a positive. Thank you very much, guys.
No worries.
Glad you guys. Take care.
Yes.
Good night. Have a great week.
Yes.
Bye.